And we're recording now. So good evening, everybody. Appreciate
Good
everybody for coming out
evening.
tonight. I say coming out like we all in the club somewhere, but uh, anyway, we here tonight. We're just gonna discuss, like last time, we're gonna dwell into the political realm and give our what we think about what's going on. What's going on with the everything that's going on today. Last time we talked about how we felt about the state of the United States and the election, and how we felt about the candidates and both parties, and it was a pretty good discussion. We probably will dwell back more so on that end, but tonight I think I want to make sure that we kind of stayed on topic, at least for the beginning. So I think tonight's discussion we're gonna be talking about Kenosha, Wisconsin, and everything that's going down. And we all know what happened in Kenosha. So few, I won't say rules, but a few housekeeping things to keep in mind. Try to give everybody we're gonna give everybody a chance to speak. When I feel like we need to move on, I will send you a message, a chat message, letting you know that like kind of like wrap it up, or gotta move on to the next person. We want to make sure we respect everybody comments and ideas. We want to make this real pissing match, you know what I'm saying? But I know this subject tonight probably may get not heated, but get probably a little charged, if I will say, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, also if I feel like people overstepping and speaking on top of each other, give you a warning. If not, I'll just mute your mic, and then we're gonna let the person that's speaking finish, and then we'll keep it moving forward. So with that being said, how everybody feel about what's going on in Kenosha, Wisconsin? Also, when you want to speak, it should be a thing on her. You can raise your hand, and I'll make sure I try to keep in the order or whatnot. So, hold on, I got some people waiting to get in. All right, hold on. So who wants to start off? Hold on.
I'll go.
Nobody wants to start off.
No, I'll go. I really was
Okay.
just trying to give. I know it's new people on from last week, so I wanted to give everybody a chance to jump out there. So starting with the the initial incident, I thought it was just another example of failed policing, and I want to temper that statement where I'm not one of these people that think that we can't have police. I know that that's a vital part of any type of civic structure. So that's not what I'm saying. But policing, in my opinion, as we know it, is failing right now. The training, the tactics, all of them, are just archaic, and it shows in the way that these situations are playing out. I think that that they definitely overreacted. I think that the Jacob Blake getting shot, 7 times in the back was, is the definition of excessive. Especially with children in the car. You can't. And again, I'll make this my theme in all of these proper contexts. You can't say that you are acting to protect anybody when you have children in the car and then you firing into the car. So that doesn't play. That dog doesn't hunt. So there's that. I think that the unrest after that was fully justified. We can have a whole other conversation on, quote unquote rioting and looting and how that undermines the argument. But, the unrest in general after that was definitely called for, to set the example, set the tone for what happened. Then you have this, young person out across state lines, Kyle Rittenhouse, out here in a militia type vibe, to go out here and basically make this argument that they're there to property, with property that they do not own, they have no rights to. They're not neighbors to any of these things. They should not have been there. And for him to go out there and to, threaten people, because that's what that's for. That's a show of force. Yeah, that's a show of force. Thank you. That's the field trips these days. I'm gonna go out here with my gun. So they were there to threaten people, and when that didn't go right, you ran up against somebody that was ready to call you on your shit. Then you scared, and now you're ready to pull a trigger, and he ends up shooting 3 people, killing 2, and I said all that to get to this point. Watching him walk calmly past police, and they just drove past him like nothing. He might as well have been a ghost. Is to me, there's no other greater example of how disproportionate they're treating
white privilege,
white people versus us. It was people screaming at them from all over that he had shot people. He's clearly armed. It's a they always making the argument about how under duress and scared and how dangerous it is, which is true to an extent. But here's a prime example: somebody standing in front of you that's armed, and granted that shouldn't by law that shouldn't, excuse the pun, trigger any immediate reaction. But then you have citizens saying that he had shot people, and I know you can hear them because they were responding to the people talking. They're asking them questions. Right. Where are the people that were shot? So you can hear them. They didn't do anything, and that's, to me, game over. That's the end of that argument. That if I was an attorney, I would close my case right there with that video.
Right. Can I add to that? Also, it's not like they didn't know, because the one guy that got shot in the arm, the police actually came and got him, made protesters move back so they could deal with him and get him on the ambulance. So therefore, I'm pretty sure it was communicated that they had an active shooter out there. So my thing with the whole thing was the justification of people trying to give that when he was acting in self-defense. The way I look at it is he put himself in that position because, first of all, he was not even supposed to have any weapons. He wasn't of age to have any weapons. And then he traveled up to 30 miles across state lines. So he done broke 2 laws already. So his decisions put him in those situations, no matter if they were on him or not. Like, that's just like if me, Eddie, and Elvin go rob a bank and I'm the getaway driver. Elvin and Eddie robbing the bank and they kill people in the bank. Now, if we get caught, I didn't pull the trigger, but I'm going to get charged probably with murder as well, because my actions put me in a situation that I was there and caused, and I was part of the reason why these people lost their lives. So I may not have pulled the trigger, but you best believe they're going to give me that charge as well. Just like this guy decided I'm going to go over there with and it's all an intimidation tactic, because first of all, you walking around, you basically in an all-black neighborhood, and you walking around. I'm just gonna say that he kind of was looking for something to jump off, to have justification for his actions. I'm going on stretch to say that, you know what I'm saying, because I'm not gonna necessarily go in the hood with a weapon, knowing that people are hostile and think that me by myself, because at the time he was by himself. So why are you by yourself with doing any of this? You know what I'm saying? But also, people like, well, he got attacked first, this, that, and the other. People kept trying to say, guys threw a Molotov cocktail. That DOJ already said it was a plastic bag. His first victim, he actually shot in the back, in the groin, in the hand, and then the head. So that's not self-defense. Maybe the first 2 shots of self-defense. Anything after that, and then to shoot somebody in the back, that means either if they had their back turned towards you, they're not a threat. Yep. So the whole self-defense argument, that goes out the window. And then they said, well, the other guys tried to attack him. They was trying to disarm him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Guy had a skateboard. Like he wasn't really trying to, like, oh, you got a gun and I got a skateboard. Let's go at it. Like, No,
Right.
you know what I'm
No,
saying? But
and
it's
because
it's the
it never
narrative that
happens like that. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. You know, it's not
So
going to
and,
happen.
and, and that's just my
Oh, I'm
thing.
sorry, Robert.
No, I'm sorry, but like it's just crazy because like so I'm licensed to carry. So it's crazy that the law will put me in a higher regard of where I handle my weapon. Like if I shoot, they tell you when you go to the CCW class, like you need to make sure when you're shooting, you're willing to destroy what's behind your target, and any rounds that come out your gun, you are liable for. You know what I'm saying? But you need to tell me I'm more liable than the police. You know what I'm saying? They teach the police. You know what I'm saying? Basically, you're not really supposed to use deadly force until you can identify the threat, meaning that you have to actually see a weapon. You have to actually physically see a weapon, and then the person has to have a weapon and be using it in like he's going to harm you or the public. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't the case with Jacob Blake. You know what I'm saying? He was walking away from the police, and like I said, they could tackle the man or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then you see the narrative when they trying to say, well, he had a knife in his car. Last time I checked, it's not illegal to have no knife. Hell, he could have had a knife on this person. He was not making a threatening gesture with the knife. So I don't even understand why that's even brought up. Like he could have had a gun in his car, and until he went for the gun, technically the police cannot really do anything about that. You know what I'm saying? Like I even got pulled over, and the police asked me, "Do I have my weapon?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." That don't mean I'm finna use it on the police, man. I'm letting them know it's not illegal to have your firearm. So the whole uh, thing about when he was going to the car and he was going to get the knife, I'm sorry, never in the history of black people has a black man ever thought, I got 3 guns on me. I know, I'll go to my car and get my knife. I'll show him. No, I'm not believing that one like that. So that's my 2 cents.
When his vigilante justice ever really works, right? So it's not just this in particular case in Wisconsin. We go back to Trayvon Martin case all the way up, right? Like you have these people who consider themselves, I don't know, patriots or whatever they consider themselves as, and they think that it is their job and their responsibility and their right to actually go out with their personal firearms and enforce the law in a certain way that they see fit. And they're not licensed by the people. They're not hired by the people. They're not commissioned in any kind of way for the people. And we see this happen so
Right.
many times. And we see it even being praised in conservative circles, but it never really seems to work out. I don't know if you guys know of any examples. And I'm sure there's like the rare example where, a private citizen has a gun and he sees a robbery. I'm sure there are a few examples, but generally, whenever you have these people who take it upon themselves like that to intervene in situations that really don't have anything to do with them at all, this is what happens. So when you have a George Zimmerman that thinks that he can take it upon himself to say, who is this kid in my neighborhood and why is he here? And I'm armed and I'm going to do something about it instead of minding your business. Or even this kid in Wisconsin who can go across state lines, like you guys said, and said, it's my job as a minor to go arm myself and stand in front of people's stores in a community I don't live in and people I don't know. And I'm going to stand here with this gun and intimidate people. And it just never turns out well whenever that happens. So it's almost like there needs to be a cultural shift in how we view these people, and call them what they are, terrorists, not patriots or protectors. Because, if you really wanted to protect people, you would do that as an official job. You would wait, like, Zimmerman couldn't make the police academy, but he felt like he needed to be a vigilante, right? And same thing with this
Right.
kid. Like he couldn't wait until he could go to the police academy, be trained in the right way and do things in the right way. He had to go and take the law into his own hands. And I think that there should be a penalty for that alone, because you're not in your own home or your own property protecting yourself. You're going inserting yourself into things where law enforcement, like Eddie said, should have handled it. So my 2 cents is that we have to change that mind frame too. These are terrorists. They're not patriots at all.
And to add to that, with we're looking at the system, we're looking at this kid that did this. Several of these kids that have went out and done these shooting are kids that have wanted to be cops, right? White kids that have wanted to go into law enforcement. What is it about law enforcement that provides them a certain dynamic of thoughts of authoritarian power, control, Because in the instance of a police officer in that moment, and I know I'm getting away from the kid, but now I'm getting to the police officer, is the most powerful person in the planet over that moment. Because the president or king of any country can't pull you over, right? But that police officer has sole power and sole control over that moment. And the issue that when we're talking about systematically is how fear is taught and portrayed, right? You go back, you look at, the targets that they may shoot, right? A lot of times they may have, they're going through the training scenarios. They may have pictures of people, but they won't necessarily have a black person as a criminal, but they will have black targets, right? So those black targets perpetuate black fear. So when you perpetuate that fear, but now you incorporate that privilege of the white privilege or authoritarian power, so to speak, now they will take that and they will use that as leverage because they know they also can literally get away with murder. So now we have to look at how do we address that, right? We look at, with voting, right? We look at how do we really deal with this system because we've been trying forever. So when we're looking at attacking this power, now we got to start looking at, okay, what are the policies, the bylaws that enable these things to take place, right? Like somebody posted earlier about the 146 judges that, Trump administration has appointed throughout this country. So those are things that help. The deck is stacked against us, so again, how do we impact that, right? How do we, and whether it's in education for our children, education and our community to go more into these legal professions, to get our children more to go into policing. But the thing is, bringing it sort of back in. I know I'm sort of rambling. I've wrote some stuff down. My thoughts are going now, but it sort of goes into now the Blue Lives thing, talking about the systematic perspective of this, because the blue lives only matter when it's white people wearing blue. And all these kids, bringing it back to that want to be police officers, have done all these shootings, whether it's this Kyle kid, the Columbine kid, or these other, not the Columbine, but I forgot the other kid's name. But some of these other kids that want to be cops, that they want to sign up for it. How do we make it to where the police force is not so enticing to the whiteness of that authority? And I think that's really what I'm getting at, sort of proposing as a question that we're going to have to address as we move forward in order to find some resolutions to this mess. I'm frustrated, so like I said, my mind is sort of juggling, so I apologize if I'm not clear. But just thinking about it all, man, it's frustrating. To protect and to serve no longer exists. I remember seeing that on a police officer calls when Officer Friendly would come, where we was at fairground, or we was at some court balling, and the officers were present in the community as Officer Friendly, whatever Officer Friendly's name may have been. But Officer Friendly no longer exists, and no one is going into the police force to be Officer Friendly. Nobody's going into the police force to protect and to serve. They're going in to assume that power and that control. So, again, proposing as a question, how do we attack that mindset and that mentality that infiltrates the system?
Renell, I just want to
appreciate you.
What you're saying. With regards to the kids, black kids and white kids, you're right. I mean, black kids are, from day one, we are taught to fear the police, and rightly so. White kids are not. My mom and I moved. We live in California. We bought a house in Southern California, and this area of Southern California actually is very hardcore Republican. And we get this house, and the 3 bedrooms, the kids' houses, the 3 doors, all have stickers from the top to the bottom about supporting the police. Go police, we love the police, blah, blah, blah. I mean, so many stickers. We had to buy 3 new doors because we couldn't peel them off. So it's a whole different mentality that white kids from jump are they're trained. It's in their DNA. They're taught to love the police, you know, from a very young age. Black folks, we fear the police. We don't want to call the police. It's called snitching. I mean, all these different levels of that. So I don't have an answer, Renell, because it's crazy. I think it's just, I mean, it stems from long ago. But you're right. It's frustrating. I'm feeding off of your energy, that frustration, because I'm frustrated myself, even living out here. You know, and that kid, he came across state lines from Illinois.
Yep.
He came across the hill, folks. That was his agenda. I mean, no one carries that type of weapon of mass destruction to not do anything but to kill somebody. And that he came there to shoot Black folks, white folks, whoever that he thought was against him. He came with his mama. His mama drove his ass and came with him. So she should be liable too. You know, 7 times that kid is paralyzed the rest of his life. His life will never be the same. I told my mom, I said, you know, Black folks, we want to say we forgive all these people. I'm like, look, if somebody ever shoot me up, don't forgive shit. You know, don't you dare. And you can tear everything up. I don't care. So, you know, I'm not about that forgiveness stuff. I mean, I'm a Christian. I'm gonna forgive. Look, I'm gonna be in heaven, but y'all on earth can do some stuff. You know, and I have to say, just switching gears, I'm a proponent of voting. Everybody knows that about me, but I also want to just talk really quickly about the census. I said this last time. We, as Black folks, we're at 50% as far as participation. We gotta get the census in, you guys. We can do it through online, we can do it on the phone, and we can do it through mail. If you don't trust mail, okay, call them up or do it online. It takes 5 minutes. And the reason why it's so important is because it really and truly is the way money is funneled into each state, each community. You think shit is bad now? We're at 50% participation. This time 10 years ago, we were at 63%. How do I know this? Because I was on a call with the Congressional Black Caucus, and the main person from the census was on the phone. And she was just saying, it's ridiculous. I'm ready to go door to door myself. I mean, I'm already getting people registered to vote and all those other things, but I mean, we got to get the word out there. I almost feel like, okay, if you don't want to fucking vote, at least get the census in. You know what I'm saying? That's how strongly this is, because money already is not being funneled into our communities. It's going to be even worse these next 10 years. So that's my piece.
All right. Miss Jacob is on you.
There we go. All right. So again, I'm just going to hop on Joanne's thing again. Please, please, please do the census. My dad did not work, I don't want to say a legitimate job. He was a community activist in LA for up until the time that he passed away. The only job he ever worked that was a true job was as the census. He will tell you, he was pulled out because he studied under the Black Panthers and under Malcolm. He studied, so he was part of COINTELPRO. He was under surveillance, all sorts of crazy stuff. So my father trusted the government. He didn't trust them about as far as he could see them. But one thing that he believed in more than anything, and he made it a point every time the census came around, was he was there, he was out there, he was going throughout Watts, going door to door, doing his part, trying to get people to do it. So again, that's just another plug behind Joanne. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, as you guys were discussing, our kids seeing and trusting and wanting to become police officers. If they don't see any positive images of officers within the community, they're not going to want to do it. If all they're ever seeing or all they ever see is the negative, which is what they see the majority of the time, then there's no incentive for them to do it. And those who choose to do it, are still going to be looked at sideways, because we already know that most of the time, and that from an early age, we learn that they are to be feared just as much as they are to be trusted, for those that were taught them. I remember I was probably 10. There was an altercation. My father went to handle a gentleman who had done something that was inappropriate. And when we walked out from the place, it seemed like every officer from the Carson Police Department was there with guns drawn on us when we walked out of this place. As a 10-year-old, that was traumatic for me, because I didn't understand what the hell was going on and why they would even have these weapons drawn on us. And all we did was walk out. Now, he whooped the man's ass. I'm not going to deny it. They were called for a reason, because all they heard was that there was an angry black man, 6'3", whooping this man's ass for a reason. But when we walked out, my father didn't have any weapons, no nothing. There were guns drawn on the three of us that walked out together. And I was freaked out, because you're supposed to be protecting, yet here you are assaulting. In my mind at that time, at 10, I felt like I was being assaulted. And then again, living in LA, having police pull up on my husband and his best friend, who were military, and the only thing that they did was walk out of a house wearing black. They were on their way to a gym. They both had on black, getting ready to go work out. And we literally watched the police, watched them get in the car. They drove down the street, made a U-turn, and waited for them to pull off so they could pull them over. So this is what children are seeing. If this is what they're seeing, there's absolutely no reason why they would want to even be affiliated with it. If we're going to look at it, we definitely have to bring community policing back. That's why I understand initially I didn't understand the defund police. Now I understand it better, what most people are trying to go with. It's about being in the communities and knowing the communities that you're in. That's how you prevent a lot of bullshit. That's how you can prevent a lot of bullshit. Folks are going to do what they're going to do, but the more that you sit in there and that you get to know them, they have, within the community, you're building that trust. And therefore, people are going to be more apt to contact you or trust you when you come to them. The other thing is on the whole thing with Kyle, our homegrown terrorist. The number of, I'm not even going to talk about Republicans, period. The number of Christian people that I have seen supporting him, who have this morality of, thou shalt not kill and all this other stuff, that are supporting this child, because he really still is a child, absolutely still astounds me. The number of people that are willing to defend his actions as, oh, well, he felt like the police weren't doing anything and therefore he needed to go. I'm trying to understand, one, as everybody said, why his mother felt like it was okay. We're not talking about a protest. I've taken my 10-year-old with me on protest. That's something different. We're talking about, she allowed him to be armed. Not only did he have a weapon, but it was loaded. When you walk around, people have such a double standard. Oh, yeah, let's free carry. It doesn't matter. Let people walk around with guns. When guns are out, more people are going to be more apt to respond in kind, because they are always concerned about, is somebody going to pull and shoot, and I need to be ready at all times. All right, sorry. Going to the next person.
No problem. It's on you, lifestyle.
Yo.
Hold on.
Wait, is Erica next though?
There you go.
Okay.
Wait a minute, hold on. I'm
Man,
sorry. Did I? Let me look at the order. Hold on. She might have been next.
I
I'm
think
sorry,
Erica
Lifestyle.
is.
It is Erica's turn. Yeah,
Okay.
I
All right.
apologize for that. So Erica Lifestyle, then Boski.
She got to unmute herself.
Yeah. You gotta unmute your mic, Erica.
Sorry about that. I definitely want
It's
to
all
touch on
good.
the census. It's very important that everybody fills that out. Everybody needs to be counted. Getting back to the point about the police, little kids in Black communities are not desired to be a cop because it's not a desirable field. We're scared of the police. We're taught that because historically they haven't been that nice to us. So therefore, that's something that most kids don't want to do. I think a lot of the problems that the police is, I think it's a great idea that they have to live in our communities for a certain amount of time or close to the communities. I don't think it's a good idea for servicemen that were in war to come back and become cops. I think that's a lot of the problem. I think that there needs to be more testing on them, psychological testing. Pull your high school records. Were you a kid that wore black every day and was part of the Lynch Club Mafia? No, I'm sorry, you can't be a cop. You really need to go back. I think lie detector tests. I think alcohol screening and drug screening needs to be with cops. They basically get to do whatever they want, whenever they want, how they want, because they're a cop. And, you know, a lot of them have vices. A lot of them are heavy drinkers or drugs or into KKK or the militia. A lot of those cops are part of those Aryan nations, and they need to do more background checks. They need to check them. But we are historically scared of the police, period. And we will go with all costs without calling them, period.
Can I add to that? And then I'm just gonna make it real quick. It's kind of funny how a lot of people will say that police need more money for more training. Well, I was in the military, so I feel like we was trained effectively, and the training never stopped while we was on the job. And as far as like shooting anybody, basically, if in the military, we had to follow this thing called the rules of engagement under the Geneva Convention. Basically, we couldn't fire upon anybody unless we basically get shot upon. And even then, you're liable for every bullet that come out of your weapon. And the military justice system is way harsher than civilian justice system. So when I see the lack of law, you know what I'm saying, when the police shoot somebody, it's like they're not liable for anything because they're doing their job, but it's not really their job to really shoot anybody. They're supposed to be people, the keeper of the peace. You know what I'm saying? They supposed to be out there helping the public, you know.
Yes.
And I understand that crime happened, but you're still supposed to find a way to try to de-escalate the situation before you even get into a situation where deadly force is being used. Especially if somebody has their hands up, somebody's walking away from you, they're not a clear threat. So I don't understand. I understand. I don't understand, but I understand why they do the things that they do. But we're gonna keep it moving. Erica, were you done?
I would
Okay,
just
we're gonna
like to
move to
say that
lifestyle.
I love my
Oh,
servicemen. You know that. I thank you for your service.
yeah.
I just feel like depending on what you did in the service, like I feel like you're well adjusted. I've been around you. I'm not scared. But some people come out of the service and they're not right. And they try to help them get
Right.
jobs in the postal service, the VA, the cops, or I just don't think that particular job may be good for, and I don't know what kind of testing they do. You know, I know nothing against my servicemen. I love you to death.
Appreciate it. All right, it's on you, lifestyle. This time, now it's on you.
All right. I think it's so many fundamental things, so many harsh truths that we have to accept and start to address as a community. Because when we look at what the police do, it's like essentially the police are there to protect property and to be bodyguards for the wealthy at the end of the day, you know. And I think that it's obvious that when they look at certain communities, Black communities, brown communities, poor communities, we are basically all we are pawns in the sense that they built the entire prison industrial complex based on the fact that they could basically trap us because we're economically disadvantaged and more prone to crime. So they figured out a way to make money off of us. So it benefits these systems that are in place when certain communities are oppressed or when people are abused. And when you look at the violence that's been happening in our communities for our entire lives and the lives of our parents and the lives of their parents, you know, it also speaks to the fact that our humanity is not being recognized. And it's not because people will say, you know, that they hate you, but it's because it provides a level of comfort, a level of benefit for the people that work within these systems, within these structures. So when you think that Black people are inherently more violent, inherently more criminal, it makes it easier for you to violate these people, you know? And sometimes we internalize some of these ideas as well. You know, that's why when we look back at the 94 crime bill that Biden wrote, it's like there were Black politicians in line with that too, because they didn't necessarily understand that that was not going to solve crime. You know, it was going to put more people in jail, but it wasn't going to stop the conditions that facilitate crime. So when we look at the police, when we look at the concept of more Black people becoming police, I definitely think that at the very least you should live in the community. But even with that, it's like the structure itself is so corrupt that I don't know that that's going to solve it either, because I've had plenty of negative experiences with Black cops, you know? So I think when ultimately you're serving the same structure, the same system, you're going to do the same shit. I do think we should pay attention to what's happening in the streets as far as, you know, the concept of taking some of the money that law enforcement gets and putting that into social services, other entities that are better prepared to help our communities. You know, because the police are terrorizing homeless people, they're terrorizing the mentally ill, you know, and there are other entities that are better prepared, better equipped to handle these situations. And a lot of times the police are in over their head. They're put in predicaments that they don't know how to fix, you know. And then when you couple that with the fact that they pretty much have carte blanche when it comes to Black people, you can do whatever you want to Black people. And that's been shown. You know, it's like it's systematically it's stacked against us. So I think when we talk about reform, I mean, that's been attempted so many times. I think we need to put money and resources into other entities, into other ideas, or else we're gonna be having these same conversations, you know, forever. As far as that kid in Kenosha, I mean, that also speaks to a mentality that's ever present. Again, when you look at a population of Black people that, again, you're considered inherently violent, inherently anti-American, even though there's nobody more American than Black people, nobody. But when you have this stigma of being the enemy, then it makes it easy for people to kind of look at you as not even a person, you know, but somebody that's, if imagine, I mean, we see the police kill Black people our whole lives. White people see that shit too, but they have a different perspective. You know, while we understand that, man, that's my brother, that's my uncle, that's my cousin, that's my sister, that's my aunt, and you understand the situation and why it's wrong, a lot of white people are more inclined to ask the question or to say, well, they must have been doing something, or there's no way the cops can be as corrupt as they say. So you have these two different mentalities. So as a young person looking at the police as heroic, looking at the police as people who truly serve, you know, Americans, you know, because a white person's experience may be, you know, that the cops always came to their aid when they needed it, even though poor white people get fucked up too, you know? But, you know, we also know that white people get a lot more leeway when it comes to I've seen white people fight the cops. You know what I'm saying? I've seen all kind of shit. So it's a different dynamic. So yeah, it's very easy for a young white person to get energized and be like, yeah, you know, I want to be a good patriot. I want to be a good American, and, you know, go out there ready to get into something. And that's what he did. He was looking to get into something. He was encouraged. He was encouraged from the actions of the highest office in the land, all the way down to his mom and his pops, you know, and probably the media to an extent. So he's not the only person thinking that. And if you look at the way he's being talked about now, it's, you know, the way he's viewed in the media as opposed to the way that Black victims of this whole shit are looked at, it's night and day, you know. And that's something we have to understand, is that for a very long time, you know, the concept that Black people are not as human as everybody else, it hurts us, and they use it to their advantage. And that's all I got to say for now.
I appreciate it. All right, Boski is on you, and then we're gonna move to Elvin after Boski. You gotta unmute your mic, bro.
What's up, y'all? So,
There you go.
I heard someone say earlier, and I continue to hear it all week, that that we, as a people, or our ancestors, are rolling over in their graves because of the actions that we're taking today. Like most people say that they're not going to vote and things like that. Like I heard people say, you know, if you're not going to vote, you know, our ancestors are rolling over in their graves. And I'm like, damn. So at what point, you know, at what point did we accept conquering? Like at some point we got conquered and we accepted it. You know what I'm saying? Like the police has never, ever shown us that they're here to protect us as citizens, or any citizens at some point. They have never shown us, nor is there any documentation to prove, to say that police are here to protect citizens. They're here to protect the law of the land. At some point we have to realize that we're in America. America is a corporation, and anything that's based off of a corporation, they have an entity there to protect it. I just feel like at some point we need to revise our structured community. We need to revise the whole thing, like everything, as far as community, as far as policing, as far as communicating. We have allowed America to become our us, for us, and we're not able to unite. And like my number one thing that I noticed is, like, just recently, after all of these things, like, we can't get nobody to unite if everybody working for white corporations. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't make sense. So, like, as far as with the police, I don't think that there is an answer. I don't think that we're gonna get. I don't think that getting more young Black people to become police officers is the answer. Me personally, I just think that maybe we need to create our own entity. It's like the police, they have a contract just like anyone else. You know what I'm saying? Like federal you know, FBI, they have a contract. You know what I'm saying? So like we just need a new contract. And as far as the kid Kyle, off with his head. You know, I ain't off with his head. Those are my views on that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for real.
All right, appreciate it, bro. All right, Elvin is on you, bro.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I guess, you know, like, I don't have a problem with defunding the police. I think most of everything that everybody has said up to this point makes sense. You know, other than that, you know, I think I'm a little more radical when I think that, you know, not just defunding the police, but defunding the whole entire system, because I don't think the system works with Black folks at all, you know, from the police to healthcare to, you know, getting a loan for your house, right? So the system has never been intended for us. And I think the thing is, you know, as we all are, you know, citizens of this country, trying to figure out, you know, where we fit in. And, you know, and I wrestle with that. You know, I don't want to say I'm full Democratic or Republican, you know, for that matter. And I think about, you know, like, what if we, you know, could build something else, you know, had resources. I don't think we have adequate resources to sustain ourselves outside of this country, you know, and I think I fall more like a Stokely Carmichael in trying to figure out, like, how do we find our land somewhere else, you know, because I don't think that we have any leveraging power to this country. And if we had leveraging power, I think things would be a little different. And by that, I mean, like, you know, collaborating with other countries, you know, I don't know if it was the GDs or the vice lords, you know, in the 70s that, you know, had a conversation with Gaddafi, and, you know, he funded certain things for them. And when I think about that, you know, I think about what the government did to stop things like that. And I think we need to look at trying to build relationships outside of this country if they don't want to do or participate in, you know, what I believe we could do differently. You know, I mean, I don't think that's too radical, but, you know, I know people would, you know, be upset about detaching from this system, but I don't think, unless they really take us serious in this election, that's, you know, we just got to really try to figure out a way to make an impact and have more leverage, whether it means more ownership, and then defunding and trying to figure out where we fit in with other countries. And I'll leave it right there because someone says Ghana is welcome. Yeah, I'm with that. You know, I think if we could figure out a way to do that, I think it would be great. You know, in the sense of empowerment. But, you know, you guys feel free to chime in and say whatever you think or disbelieve about that.
All right. So our next three speakers is gonna be Kizzy. We're gonna go back to Eddie, and then Arnisha. So Kizzy, you have the floor.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I hope you all can hear me. Can everybody hear me okay? Can you guys hear me at all? Okay, yep. So
Yes.
I want to try to organize my thoughts and just talk a little bit about, I'm sorry, I don't know his name, the guy that just went before me, about defunding. Like, this sounds like a really great idea to defund the police department and to distribute those funds into other places like social workers and, of course, community programs. But if those things are not ran by people who have our best interests at hand, we're going to see some of the same disparities and injustices that we see now with the police officers. Like, even now when we think about social workers and therapists, Black people have a really hard time in finding really good therapists who understands our nuances, right? So it's great to talk about defunding the police, but are we really going to put the funds into a system that's going to be beneficial to us? Or is it going to continue to be a disservice to our community, right? And then I really like the radical idea of burning shit down. And that's even a problem because in order to rebuild, we have to be able to get along with the average American person, the white people, right? And they're not going to change their minds overnight. It's just not going to happen. I feel like Black people are caught like in this vortex because African American and people, we are so disenfranchised. We don't have really the support of sometimes our own communities. We don't have any allies seriously outside of America. So if we want to start some type of revolution, who's our allies? Who do we have to support us in that fight? As Elvin mentioned Gaddafi, you know what I'm talking about. He was an ally. When Malcolm X traveled Africa, the continent of Africa, that's what he was building, a system of allies to support African Americans. But even Africa is disenfranchised largely by China and still Europe. So really, as African Americans, who do we really have to support us? So I feel like that we are just in this constant struggle and this constant fight to try to find our place. And I honestly don't know what the real answer is. Like, we keep having these conversations, but what is the real answer? Until we can get the majority of white folks and other non-people of color to really see that our oppression is also their oppression and their fight. Obama, he sent 270,000 people. He deported 270,000 people when he was in office. He separated families. And until we all see that we are all oppressed in some shape, form, or fashion, and that injustice anywhere is the injustice everywhere, we are not truly going to get what we deserve as a people from this system. I don't see white people freely dismantling a system that they benefit from. That's not the oppressor. That's not what he does. He doesn't just freely lift. And I think, Rob, you said it, or somebody else said it, that once you get into the system, we can have more Black people become police officers. But once you get into the system, you probably are going to become corrupt, right? That's just probably going to happen. Police department, politics, because that's the game, that's the control, that's the manipulation. So even when you go in with a good heart and a good spirit to fight for your people, you may end up not doing the right thing because of the pressure that you're faced with. So I don't know. I don't really know what the answer is outside of starting these micro cosmic ecosystems where economically we empower ourselves one little cluster at a time until we have the economic power to demand what we want, because they really respect money and violence. And until we have that leverage of money, then I don't know, what the answer is for us. I personally don't think it's voting. I'm going to vote, but I don't think it's voting, because the hood has been the hood for the last 20, 30 years. Nobody has dumped money into the hood to revitalize it unless it's been gentrified. So I don't know about voting, but I will vote. I just don't know what the answer is. That's just kind of at the end of the day. I love the conversation and the dialogue and the ideas, but the implementation of it all, I don't know how that works unless we get people that's not people of color to fight with us. And that includes a whole bunch of white folks too. So I don't know. That's my ideas, my thoughts this evening.
All right. Appreciate you, kids. So next up is going to be Eddie, and then Arnisha, and then we're going back to Miss Jacob. It's on you, Eddie.
All right. I apologize if I missed something, and I'll repeat a point that was made. I have to step away for a second, but I think again that a lot of the things that we're talking about stems from, to Kizzy's point, more systemic failures, right? And so as long as, people do not value us, Black Lives Matter, that's our flag right now, but it's, this has been a thing for a long time, and it plays out in very different ways, that affects us, so I say in the policing, when, our communities are viewed as in the same way that a soldier going into enemy territory, you know, and that kind of thing. Have, you know, soldiers that are, you know, put in situations where you're told to, you know, to be aware of your surroundings. That's not just in like a detective work thing. That's to mitigate danger kind of thing. Like we're telling you you're in a dangerous situation, and when you treat at home neighborhoods like that, you get that kind of reaction from the police that are going into it. You're telling them before they ever show up, this is dangerous. The people that you're going to be around are dangerous, right? And if they're dangerous, that translates to a savage's kind of mentality. And savages is always, you know, it's you know, uneducated, you know, dangerous by nature, you know, this kind of carnal thing. And so that's just one example. But the reason I say that is that's happening at you know, a subconscious level. That's how efficient the systematic racism is. It's happening when they don't even think about it. It's happening without them having to put effort into it. They're defending systems that oppress us without even really understanding why that's wrong. They just do it, you know what I mean? And that plays out in different ways in our religion, in our politics, and our you know, politics, and an extension of that is policy. And, you know, just to, you know, go back to that video of you know, Kyle Rittenhouse walking past the police, just walking past them, you know, unscathed. Not that I, you know, think, you know, wish harm on him, you know, aesthetically, but I'm just saying, nothing happened to him. He didn't get patted down, nothing. You know what I mean? And that's how deep that is, to show time and time again how these examples play out of them, you know, valuing that person's life differently than us, where the narrative is very different for us. When we're approached, you know, we talked a lot about how we fear them, but you know, if we being 100 about it, they fear us. They fear us before they even show up. They're scared before they even show up. How many pictures have we seen of a cop standing next to a car with a person sitting in it asking for ID? You supposed to reach for your ID. The cop got the other hand on the gun already. Nothing's happened. I just asked you who you were, but I'm already prepared for this because you're a threat. And until we start changing those kind of things, and when it happens, it's an amazing thing. We, you know, props to the people that have, you know, to use, you know, I hate like catchphrases, but people that have become woke or become allies, props to them for that, because they, you know, if they've done the work and stand up next to us, great. But it's deeper than that, you know. It's going to continue to have to be work, and just you know, to close and move on to the next speaker. One thing I keep hearing us say, and I know it's something that we do like a reflex. It's you know, we'll say, I don't know what the answer is. Singular. It's not going to be anything singular. It's going to be a bunch of different things that we have to attack at the same time and consistently, and remain consistent on those things. We get tunnel vision as a people sometimes and focus on one thing when that's not going to be the fix all for everything. We get tunnel vision and be like, we got to vote. Okay, we did that. You know, off year midterm elections, we good. We not focused on that right now. You can't do that. We can't do Black Lives Matter protests after every incident and then fall off to go to the next one when that happens and leave the other one behind. We can't do that. Like it's going to take you know, a full court press, as they would say, and that's tough. You know, I mean, that's calling it is what it is. It's going to be tough, but that's what it's going to take. It's not going to be just one thing. We got to change all of that stuff. Okay.
All right, appreciate you, Eddie. Hold on, Ronell. We got two more in front of you. We got Arnisha is next, and then Miss Jacob.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Rob, for inviting me to the Zoom. I'm hearing a lot of good things from different people. The gentleman who just spoke, he was saying how it's going to take many things to help to fix the issues. And I am pro reparations. I think that that will make a tremendous difference. Um, I'm a part of the ADOS movement. I encourage you to go to ADOS101.com. And unless and until the presidential candidates put forth a transformational Black agenda, which includes reparations, we're voting Democrat down ballot, which means we're going to vote for Democrats because we've been doing that for the most part for 50 years. And so they owe us. And also because of the Democratic policies more so benefit the Black community than does the Republican Party and their agendas. But that said, we're not voting for anyone in that top spot if they don't come to us, as I said, with reparations and a transformational Black agenda. As far as police, let me be real clear. I'm not afraid of the police. I wasn't taught to be afraid of the police. I know I'm not the only Black person on the planet. I know that some of our people are, but no, I fear nobody but God, no one but God. So there are a lot of things that need to take place. I think that self-preservation, I believe in that statement that self-preservation is the first key of nature, first law of nature. Where we have to be responsible, we need to take responsibility. There are a lot of issues. But the first person I look at when I find myself in any situation, I look at me. What do I do? What could I have done? What should I do? That's not to say that I'm always wrong or that I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but the first person that I look at in any situation I'm in is me. And so we have to be responsible also for things that we do and for things that we leave undone. And so that's who I am, and I'm gonna leave it there.
I appreciate it. Ms. Jacob, it's on you.
All right, so I'm just got 4 points really quickly, or two of them kind of run together. So something that we've had a conversation about, and every other month I've been having these kind of discussions with like my sister and other friends that are kind of like-minded. And some of the things that we've talked about, if you look at the Asian community or some of these other immigrant communities, if you notice, they don't vote in the numbers that we do. They're also very self-contained. Now, that's because they're immigrants. So when they come here, they come for the American dream, but they look for the American dream within their community. They come and they create communities in which they support each other. They do susus, they live 52 people in a 3-bedroom as long as they have to until everybody has enough money so that they can go out and start their own business. They do that within their own communities. And then again, being from LA, there are a huge number of Latino immigrants, but there was always buy here, pay here. The Mexicans shopped with the Mexicans. They had their own car dealerships. They had their own buildings. They had their own grocery stores. They had I don't care what it was, they had their own. And even though they were in pockets, that's where they shopped. They had to go out for some things, but if you look at the communities in which they're growing, that's what they did. And that's what you see when you see Koreatown, when you see a Chinatown, when you see these kind of things with immigrants. And then we look at them and go, why don't we have? And, why is it that they're able to do that? Their mindset is different because, again, they're coming from an immigrant mentality, whereas we've been here and assimilated for so long, our mindsets are completely different. We talked about, Lizzie talked about Kizzy, right? Kizzy? I think it was at her anyway.
Yes.
Kizzy, she brought up something I was going to bring back around, so it was perfect timing. One of the things I think we need to do, And somebody said something in here earlier in the chat, is we need to find our own communities. We need to take over our own communities and build up our communities the way that we want them to be built. While we don't have the financial ability to do it maybe singly, we have it if we come together. If we can find whatever it is, if that's 100 people that come up with $1,000 to invest into a business, if that's 1,000 people that come up with $100 for us to be able to do that, if we're able, we've got enough people, Black folks in high places, where we should be able to get them to come in and participate to help us build up a community so we get to do it the way we want to do it. Somebody made a comment about the reservations. The reservations have it down to a science to a certain degree. Part of their issue, though, is because they keep a lot of that within their tribal community, within the elders. So it's not elected. It's not people that are within the community that they voted in, rather, let me say that they voted in. It's elders that have had these positions, and then they bring on new elders, and they kind of pick those people. It's not necessarily done by the people themselves. But if we go in and we study all the different types of governments there are, we find out the good, we find out what the pros, the cons, everything that goes along with it, then we can create our own. It's doable. It's doable if we have enough people, and all we have to do is get one place started. If we can get one place started, then that gains that buzz. We don't have to have the machine that's around us, because we can do it in pockets. When we do it in pockets, then that gives us the equity and the leverage to be able to go into our other communities and help build those up. But again, it takes everybody. Somebody else brought in the voting. We have to vote, because voting still makes a difference for us, because we've got to follow the laws that they put into place, but the action is what follows behind that. So once we've gotten our piece, somebody brought up Jennings, if we get that and we can go in and we get us in there, we get us in a position where the Constitution we write or whatever body or form of rules that we tend to put together, we have thought this through to make it work so that we can see that economic growth, so we can make a change within it. I fully believe that it can work, especially if you have enough like-minded people. And I believe that there are enough of them there. We have enough people. If we just look at the people that are in on this conversation now, there's enough like-minded people in order to start trying to put that into place. But that was something I really wanted to kind of throw in there. We can do that if we get the people and if we get the land and the space to be able to take over and create. We do have to focus on where the mass is, but we've got to start someplace, and we have to be able to find that spot that is going to allow us to, make our mistakes and improve on those, so that nothing is ever going to be foolproof, but that we can get it as tight as possible, so that it's as foolproof as possible. Anyway, that's my thought.
All right, thank you. So Elvin, you're going to be next, and after that, we're going to change up the topic. I'm reading something and kind of caught my eye. I want to kind of get you guys thoughts on it. So Elvin, is on you right now.
All right. Well, I just wanted to touch base on, what Jacobs was talking about with immigrants. I work at WashU, and I deal with see a lot of people from different ethnic backgrounds, different nationalities or whatever. And one of the conversations I had with actually this African guy, he asked me a question, about why couldn't we just, I guess I was upset about something at work. He was like, well, you can just leave. And I'm like, well, where would I leave to? And I think for immigrants, and I'm saying this because immigrants tend to stick together, right? And the thing about the immigrants is they're coming from a country that they can tap back into. And I think with us as African Americans, we can't tap back into these things because we've been disenfranchised. We've been removed from you know, where we actually came from, right? So, you know, I think that's a challenge, you know, for us. And I don't think it's something that's not feasible. Don't get me wrong with that. I think it just presents a challenge, and I do agree with, you know, us having a national agenda to, you know, set forth, regardless of political party. And, you know, I think that's pretty much what I want to say at this moment. You know, if you guys have something to say, please, you know, I'm reading the comments. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, appreciate you, Elvin. So I'm while we're doing this, I'm just reading some news articles and whatnot. Something just caught my eye. It says President Trump defends Kyle Rittenhouse deadly shooting. He's basically trying to use the whole self-defense angle as far as Kyle Rittenhouse is concerned. How do you guys feel? You feel like that's kind of dangerous for the president to have this? Well, we know he probably will have this ideology, but is it dangerous for him to actually speak on it to the public? And like, basically, how do you feel? What type of message is being conveyed to the public? Anybody want to speak on that?
I mean, this is.
Okay. Go ahead, Joanne.
I mean, you guys, this is classic Trump. It's not shocking, surprising. This is his MO. This is what he does. He at first says, you know, it's a terrible incident, and then some days pass by. He sees what his base is going to be saying. They're saying, you know, it's self-defense. You know, these radical leftists, these Antifa, whatever, Black Lives Matter terrorists were down there, and they deserve it. And so he's going to, of course, be on that message. That's his message, is to follow whatever. His message is whatever his people say. And his base is, you know, you read it. You read it. And in St. Louis, it's KMOV or whatever was KMOV, KMOX. You guys read these comments. They don't care about Black people, about Black lives. They think it's all terrorism. They think it's all racism, right? They call it racism against white people. So he's on trend. I have learned to report, but not like react and take it in, because this is what he does. He loves all the sensationalism, and he eats that up. He's a reality show president, and that's what he loves to do. He loves to, you know, bring it all in for ratings and hype. And so I just have learned to report what's going on. Outside of that, I'm not trying to, you guys, we are almost 60 days. I think it's like 62 days. Where are we at? Till we vote. And you guys, let's get this horrible monster of a person out of here. Let's 86-45 vote, get him out of here. We'll deal with all the different dockets. There's so much to deal with once he's out, but we cannot, this country will not survive another 4 years. It won't. We will be a shithole country, as Trump had said about other places. So that's my piece.
All right, thank you, Joanne. So Lifestyle is on you now.
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% Trump. That's another way that Trump appeals to his base, is to definitely look at the elements that he can manipulate, which are typically going to be disenfranchised white people. So if he can, again, use Black people as the boogeyman, then yeah, he can say, well, yeah, this kid was defending himself, and he can energize his base, he can get them amped up, because ultimately that's his main appeal, is that he appeals to poor white people who are never going to be him, but deep down they think, you know, if I just work hard, one day I can be like Donald Trump. And then you also have wealthy white people whose interests he protects. So again, if Black people are the boogeyman, then yeah, he's going to use us at every turn, and he's going to use those who fight against us at every turn in order to just prop himself up, you know. And on the flip side, I watched what Biden had to say about it as well. And ultimately, you end up with the two-party system, we end up with the Democrats and Republicans talking about Black people, but not really including the Black people who are really in the fight. Because Biden's whole position is, well, the rioting and the looting is terrible. So he's pacifying white people again, and he's not acknowledging the cause of the rioting and the looting. Instead, he's going to refer to Jacob Blake's mother, who I respect, you know, but basically has a position of, well, I'm just praying for everybody. Black people, y'all need to chill out. White people, y'all need to chill out. I'm praying for everybody. Jesus save everybody. And also John Lewis, who I also respect, but they love John Lewis because John Lewis was willing to catch a beat down and not fight back. They love that type of activists. And as important as those people are, the appeal is not what they stood for. The appeal is because they attack from such a moral point of view that it's like, okay, yeah, they're gonna tell us why what we're doing is wrong, but they're really not gonna do anything. And it's like, and they hate that, you know what I mean? And they hate, I mean, they're not gonna do anything as far as physically. Not saying they didn't do anything, but I'm saying they love the idea of Black people protesting in a way that doesn't disturb white people. They want to tell us how to protest. So both sides are attacking that whole thing from different angles, but it's all to pacify white people and to appeal to white people, because again, one side knows that they got us in their pocket, and the other side already is just relying on, you know, a population of ignorant people who are being manipulated for the most part, or smart people who are looking out for their best interests. So it's like, as a political body, I think we have to learn how to throw our weight around a little bit more, no matter who you want to empower. We have to let them know, you know, that our concerns have to be met, you know, because at this point, I think both sides are talking about us, but neither one of them are going to do the things that we need to happen, you know, on their own. You know, the Republicans definitely aren't going to do it, you know, and the Democrats are going to pay just enough lip service to us to keep us quiet, you know, or to calm us down or whatever, or to appeal to our Christianity or our morality or whatever, our idea of what America is supposed to be. They're going to do that. But at the same time, we're going to find ourselves in the same cycle that we've been in the whole time. So somehow we have to convince everybody, you know, that if our needs aren't met or if our concerns aren't addressed, there are going to be repercussions. And we have to figure out repercussions that they care about. So that's why I never come down too hard on people that are destroying things, because that's what white people care about. They care about things, you know, and they care about money. So you stop the money, or you destroy something, or you create a situation that in which they will be harmed in the same way that they have harmed others. That's the only leverage that they're going to care about. So it's tough. And again, to be clear, I think Trump is awful, you know, and we do have to get him out. But even then, that's not really addressing the fundamental things that we've been talking about this whole call. Those things are still going to be in place. You know, we were in this situation when Obama was in office, you know, saying, and before that, again, my entire life, you know, so that's it.
Yeah. My 2 cents on it. I think also with the president saying that it's kind of dangerous on this part because when these white people they do this whole show of force thing, it kind of riles up the rest of the people that thinks like them as well. You know what I'm saying? We can go back to in St. Louis, the lawyers that pulled out the guns on the protesters and stuff. You know what I'm saying? They got rewarded by speaking in at the RNC. You know what I'm saying? So people see these things, and the president saying stuff like this, it's like you arming these people's minds to do this dumb shit. Like, for real, you know what I'm saying? It's dangerous on this part, and it's like, I know he understands this. You know what I'm saying? Again, some of you guys say he playing to his base and all that, but you're basically telling these people that it's okay to do this. You know what I'm saying? By your own admission that you support that this kid was he was defending himself, but he failed to even mention that he shouldn't have even been out there. Like, the kid's under the age, so he shouldn't have had a weapon first and foremost. And then him transporting a weapon across state line, that's a federal offense because, and not to mention even on his own criminal record, he has a weapons charge, just some like drunken disorderly kind of, he's under influence with a weapon, something to that effect. So he's showing these patterns that, you know what I'm saying, this kid's not who they're trying to play him to be. And then a video surfaced I seen today of him, basically him and his friends basically jumped a white girl. So it's just crazy. Yeah, it's just crazy, you know what I'm saying? That a couple years ago, again, we was talking about how bad George W was, like, as far as like his ideology, his thinking, and how he handled things. But we look at this shit now, it's almost like the movie Idiocracy. It's like, what the hell, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna shut up on who want to be next to speak. So
and look, that's just it's blatantly dangerous. You know what I mean? It's blatantly dangerous. It's clearly gaslighting. And here's the thing: this dude is literally playing with people's lives. He's an idiot, but he's not a fool. Okay, like, there's difference. He knows if this one situation has riled up his base so much, right? Why not have 2 or 3 or 20?
Right.
And if you look at the short amount of time between Jacob Blake's shooting and the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, that's days. If I can, you know, like,
in the same week.
Right. So like, to Joanne's point, the election's in 60 days. If I can get 4 or 5 more of these between now and then, you know, I have you know, have them, you know, whipped up into a flurry of fear, right? But he's never going to face that kind of, you know, and you know, pardon me, because I'm going to make a victim of Kyle here, so to speak. He's never going to be in Kyle's position. He's never going to go out there in the street and talk to anybody. He's not going to put his face up. He's not going to put his hand in anybody's face. Never been that guy. Never. You know, it's the same situation we all grew up in. Why don't you come from behind your boys and say that? He's never going to do that. But in the meantime, he's willing to play with people's lives, and people are getting shot out here for real. The situation in out west where a Trump supporter got shot, That's a real thing where, you know, at some point to you know, and I always, you know, I love brother. At some point, you know what I mean? We real forgiving as a people to a point. It's, you know, there's an old joke, you know, just don't put your hands on me. you keep talking that stuff over there, but if you put your hands on me, okay, it's on. And that's what's happening here, where, you know, he's willing to roll the dice that somebody else is going to do something stupid on that side of the table. We're going to react, and it's going to further that divide. And the more that divide happens, they win. You know, it really does, because when in that scenario, all of the voters in the middle and whatnot, they don't rock with that. You know, I forgot who said it about making. I believe the lifestyle said it about making them feel safe. You know, they don't want any rah-rah. Everybody just wants to kind of, you know, do their thing. You know, go to work, go home, and not have to be involved in change. And when there's clash, they just opt out. They do the thing that we were complaining about people not voting. They just, I don't want to be in that, so I'm just gonna stay home. And when that happens, then we lose. And he knows that. He's gaslighting that situation. And it's not just him. The police chief up in Kenosha, he did it too. When they don't immediately condemn that stuff, man, it plays out like a get out of jail free card, more like a don't even go to jail at all card. They see that. People see that, man. It goes, you know, years back, but, you know, recently with Zimmerman, these guys are weathering these storms. They out here, you know, surviving this situation. They not getting canceled or anything. You know, they living, working, still, you know, getting followed by TMZ and stuff. They living. And they look at this as something that they could, you know, that they might raise their profile, make them a legend or something. That's dangerous, man. This dude gotta go. That's dangerous.
All right. It's on you, Renell.
Yeah, man. So yeah, we clearly know. First of all, like you said, brother Eddie, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's the smartest dummy that we ever go see out here doing what he's doing. I had a conversation with a brother earlier about leadership, right? And leadership is not good or bad, because good or bad is relative. Leadership is about influence, right? And what he's done, he's identified those people who think a certain way with the mindset that he does. And the reality is, the people that are speaking as louder for him, he don't give a shit about. Because, you know, all those white folks in those rural areas, you know, they like to say, you know, your suburban moms, you know, he don't give a damn about those people. He has nothing in common with those people, never have, right? But there's a certain mindset that they have inherited throughout generations that he speaks to, and he knows that rages, that ignites a fire within them. So when he's talking about what he's talking about, he knows exactly what he's doing. You know, we know that language is critical, right? You know, because if I say kill two birds with one stone, we know it means to complete two tasks simultaneously, but it has such a negative connotation to it. Now, if I say feed two birds with one piece of bread, I'm saying the same thing, right? But the energy and the light behind it is different. So when he says these things, they are done intentionally and purposefully so that he can ignite a fire in something, right? And more importantly, that something is these fools that are out here doing the chaos and the craziness. And I was watching, I turned to Tucker Carlson. His ass was on. And he was talking about, you know, the first thing, you know, Tucker Carlson, I think it was the New York Times, they said, you know, teenage suspected shooter cleaning the building before shots were fired. Tucker Carlson talking about, you know, well, I'm glad he was there, but why does a 17-year-old have to protect these businesses? So the spin that they're putting on it is intentional. And when you look at the intentions of what they're saying, and then we connect that to the voters, realistically, the voters' mindset for president has already been determined. There are not as many indecisive voters as the world likes to talk about. In my personal opinion, I don't believe so. I think people have their minds up. We're going to go straight Dem. They're going to go straight Republican. Those minds are made up. Now, what he's doing also, that now where it trickles down the line to where those same local politicians that share his mindset, those are the folks that are now getting into these different positions. And so now when those folks get into those positions, they become the enablers of the president or whoever, congressmen or senators introducing certain bills. It's those folks that now would get voted in locally, but has that trickle down mindset. Is that's what's perpetuating getting those folks in. So again, going back to the original question, he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's doing it intentionally.
Thank you, Renell. Anybody like to add to that? Ms. Jacob, Joanne, Elvin?
All right, I just agree with everything everybody has said. Like I said, I really was paying attention to this one because I knew I was waiting on the bullshit to come out. The thing with Tucker Carlson, I was waiting. I was waiting to see how they were going to spin it. I was waiting to see how they were still going to make it about them being victimized. They love to talk about us being the victims. Oh my goodness, but they are the biggest victims of it all. Oh, just as, oh yeah, he back. He back. Yeah. Yeah. Just everything is, oh, poor me. Just as white men, period, love to do that victimization. And anytime they have the opportunity to say, look at what we did, we were able to stand up for ourselves, and because this, we're such the minority now, and what are you guys talking about? This, yeah. Like I said, there was just so much that was in with this whole Kyle thing, and I read the article earlier too, where Orange Satan was talking. Hold on. Where Orange Satan was,
Or say,
talking about, oh, he did what he had to do, and he was probably going to be killed. Yeah, well, you know what did the white folks always say when stuff happens? Play stupid games, get stupid prizes. That's exactly what he did. He went out there to make himself look like he was, like his nuts was hanging bigger than anybody else's. And then they shrunk up real quick when it got real, and he turned into a little bitch.
Yeah, he tensed up. He tensed up.
Right.
And not
I pose this question.
He's still a child. I mean, don't get me wrong, because if it was one of ours, the first thing that they would say is he was a man and he was this and this and this. The bottom line is he's 17. I have a 21-year-old who still acts like he's fucking 4. So, like I said, I mean, if we're going to be, right. So we're just going to be honest. At 17, we know that they're still children and that they're still doing stuff. But at that point in time, what he's doing is he's trying to be a man. And he doesn't understand what being a man is. He's getting caught up in all of this. Oh, if I have a gun, y'all are going to back down. Y'all not going to run up on me. And then when somebody ran up on him, oh, shit, it got real. And he wasn't prepared for it.
I had a theory on that, too, because I was saying me and Justin kind of went back and forth on this one. I was like, well, if he was truly feeling like it was a true patriotic duty to do any of this, why a week prior or week and a half prior did he go down to Chicago, since he's in the state of Illinois, go to Chicago and help protect those businesses out there? And I said, I knew the reason why he didn't, because he thought about, soft targets first and foremost. He knew that Kenosha is a smaller town than Chicago, so he probably can dip in, dip out. Right. Also, he already know if he'd went down in Chicago with that, them brothers wouldn't have been on his ass for real. Like, I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Like, he chose to go to Kenosha, although he lives in Illinois, and it's just a week prior they was on this. So why that militia group didn't go to Chicago and do all this? because
you
they're
know,
picking and
that's not
choosing.
happening.
They're,
Yeah.
right. So, and Justin, he was like, well, no, I don't think that's the case because he couldn't really have no weapon. And we weren't supposed to have a weapon regardless of if he can have a weapon in Chicago or not. Like, let's keep it a buck. He was not of age to have a weapon in Illinois. As a matter of fact, in Illinois, you have to have what they call a FOIA card to even own a weapon and to buy a weapon. And you have to be 21. So before you can even buy a weapon, or you have to, or be certified to own a weapon, you have to have a FOIA card so you can just buy the weapon. So him, like I said, him being under the age, and he definitely didn't have a FOIA card, he kind of picked and choose his targets on that. So that's why I'm saying that a lot of this was premeditated. And again, his actions and his thought process set off a chain of events that led to three people getting shot, 2 being killed, 1 being maimed, that he lost his arm. And it's not really self-defense if you put yourself in that situation. It's like the boy that cried wolf. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't go smack a muscle-bound motherfucker and then he getting ready to knock my block off and be like, he trying to hit me. I can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
You ever notice how they use this whole and I may be misstating the construct here, but this defend my castle defense, and but you ain't at home. Like, what you
right?
Exactly.
You can't have a castle wherever you go.
Right.
Is you rule it, man? You better get up out of here with this. And then the other thing was with Kyle's victims, all 3 of them was white dudes. You knew that that's what happened. He wasn't expecting that to come from people that look like him, and they pushed up on him. You know, I that's what I believe that they you know, well, as I've read the story, that one dude, you know, really, you know, pushed his buttons, and then the other ones really, you know, like I said, tried to help out in the situation. But he you know, like you said, he wasn't going down, he wasn't coming down here with that. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't going no part south. I lived up in Chicago 6 years. I know where Antioch's from. This is far north of Chicago. You can go and still be in the Illinois.
It's by Waukegan. My sister's right. Exactly.
No, it's past Waukegan. It's the border of Illinois.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's crazy, man. And then it's like when people start talking about the castle doctrine, like people need to verse themselves in the law, because the castle doctrine basically state that you can protect your home and your car. Your car is an extension of your home, and you can't go somewhere else and claim castle doctrine if it's not your property.
Your private property. Your private personal.
Also, well, a lot of those people that are saying that he's out there helping protect personal property. I said, first of all, what a child out there trying to protect some grown people property for in the first place? And if that's the case, what does that say about the people of Kenosha allowing a child to protect basically their investment? Like, you're going to put your faith and your lives in the hands of a 17-year-old when you try to use that defense that he's out here protecting property. The child, you know what I'm saying? He's not even liable. You know what I'm saying? Also, he's not even old enough to make sound logical decisions. You know what I'm saying? If you think about it psychologically, you know, your frontal cortex don't really develop in a human adult till about the age of 25, 26. So, you know what I'm saying? Some of that, his logic and reasoning,
and so
it wasn't there. You know what I'm saying?
That's where the mom and you know, because we as people are product of our environments, right? Now, some of us grow with the ability on how to think and not what to think. Now, like you said, he's a 17-year-old child, but his nurturing started before he got 17. So now he is fully consciousful and aware of everything that he's doing and why. And I guarantee you, when they made the decision to meet up with these guns, everybody's probably screaming, "Fuck yeah, let somebody get out of line. I'm letting loose." And he happened to be the fool to let loose, right? And because again, that's the anytime you go, like Robert, you just talking, you know, when you were in Egypt. I remember when I was I think we were in Jebel Ali, I don't remember, but I was manning the 50 cal. And my instructions were, if they cross this line, shoot it, fire at will, right? So they walked out there with a let a motherfucker move and a fire at will mentality. Now, but not everybody was foolish enough or fearless enough, whatever you want to call it, to pull the trigger. But this son of a bitch was foolish enough to do it. So, and he was fully aware of what it did because he knew he wasn't playing a video game, right? He knew that when I pulled this trigger, ain't no coming back from this. And he also knew I'm not shooting in the leg, I'm not shooting injured. He knew when he fired that gun, he was firing to kill, and he knew that before he got out there. That's I think Rob, somebody said it was premeditated because it damn sure was. He was just waiting on somebody, hey, if I wish a motherfucker would, he'd be the poster child for it.
Right. And that's the thing though, because they're saying that, the first guy probably ran up on him and agitated him, but we don't know truly what, like what was his reasoning for running on. He might have been running up on him to try to take the weapon from him. I don't know. I do know that the whole this self-defense kind of go out the window when you shoot somebody in the back of their hands, in the groin, and then the side of their head. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole self-defense go out the window with that. So, and then I just don't understand the reasoning after that when people trying to say, well, self-defensive guys came after him. They came after him to try to subdue him and unarm him. You know what I'm saying? Disarm this man. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody's running around your neighborhood. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be the one to run it and run up on them, but I'm not saying that it's not going to be somebody who will. It's got some people got some gumption like that will do this. You know what I'm saying? But
real quick, the other thing is, where was the rest of his people, the militia or the terrorist organization that he was with? So he broke away from them because they weren't even nearby to help him out to see what was going on. So that meant he left the safety of the group. See, initially he was bolstered by the fact he got these people around him that are going to have his back, but he broke away from that, going to look for the problem, going to intimidate. You cannot tell me that he was doing anything other than that, because there's no other reason for you to walk around with the weapon. That's an intimidation factor. And again, like you said, if nothing else, we learned in the military, you don't pull your weapon until you're ready to fire. You don't pull it. You're not supposed to utilize it. You're not supposed to engage. So he went looking for that specifically, broke away from the safety of his group, but he was that emboldened by them that he felt he could do that and not have anybody around him to have his back. Somebody that might have said to him, sit your punk ass down.
Right. Can we talk about his weak ass team though? Like for real, like who does that? You left the kid, the 17-year-old, you left him. He out here.
Mind you, his mother was out there too.
Right. If his mama was black, she should have cussed all their ass out. Like straight up. Like I'm just saying that. I mean, I'm making light of the situation, but seriously, like it just goes to show how much like played into this and the incompetence of like this whole group of people. Like how you have. Youth out here, you got them unprotected, unprepared, confused, misled, all of this stuff, and then you leave them out there, to hang for themselves. That's even if you're on the wrong side of the argument for me, you my enemy. It's like, damn, bro, that's how you gonna do your people. That's just crazy. And then the other thing was like when you watch that video and he's approaching the police, he looked like he in the last scene of Black Hawk Down or something. Like he saw them that like he was his saviors. Like I just got to get to them. I just got to, as long as I get to them, I'm gonna be okay. And they treated him like that. And that's how that kind of mentality going into it from the beginning. He was just running and firing. Like I just got to get to other people like me. And once I get there, I'm gonna be okay. I don't even think it ever crossed his mind that he might be in trouble. Like beyond the shooting, you know what I mean? Like I might go to jail for this. I don't think that ever entered his mind at all.
Right. Well, I guess with that being said, we can probably conclude this discussion for the evening. I guess we could probably go and do another one and probably end of September, probably do another one in October. I want to ask you guys, were you guys willing to do one election night? Are you guys free to do election night? Because I know a lot of people say they want to do election night. How you guys feel about that?
I'm good with that.
Traumatized.
Okay. Yeah. All right, before we go, Justin finally ready to speak. Go ahead, Justin's on you, bro.
Oh, snap. Hey, you hear me already?
We can hear you. I can hear you.
You can hear you, just can't see you. There you go.
Oh, hey, what's going on? What's going on? All right, I got some notes right here. I was going to read them off real quick. Just give me a second. All right. So based on reports, they said he went there without a gun. You guys already know he was in there cleaning graffiti, you know that. As far as the law, lawyers were saying that there's like a technicality for him owning a gun under the age of 18, and that law was put in place with the intention for hunting, but I'm not sure if it's exclusive to hunting.
So
You
he's
know,
hunting. They hunting us
the
now.
law.
Right. That doesn't make it any
No,
better. That does not make it any better.
My bad, Jay. Go
As far
ahead.
as the law.
Yeah, my bad, Jay. Go ahead.
Just saying. As far as law issue. And it wasn't just some random thing. He actually worked in that county of Kenosha. You know, he was working at the YMCA as a like a swim instructor or something like that, like a lifeguard at the YMCA. So he actually works in the area. You know, and he wasn't just randomly protecting businesses. Businesses were requesting protection. You know, and the militia was coordinating with the police department. You know, even when they got there, you show videos and coordinating with the police department. Police department was getting water and all that. They were communicating with each other. The militia had a few of them had medics on them, including Kyle himself. He had a medic pouch on him to help protesters, and there was a video of him walk around offering protesters medic if they need any. You know, our videos are if you want to see me guys. And he did like an interview with the Kyle McGinnis from the Daily Caller, who was in a charge. There's a few different charges against him, and one of them was for endangering this reporter. So, you know, just so you guys know. So
Let me ask you a question.
What's up?
Let me ask you a question, Justin. So, with that being said about the militia was working with the police and this, that, and the other. Don't you think he was a little too young to be with a militia in the first place? And then don't you think also? Well, hold on, let me finish.
Yeah.
And also him protecting the property of others as a child because he's still not legally an adult, and the whole notion that he can own a weapon as far as going hunting, okay, that's fine or dandy, but he went out there. He wasn't out there for the sole purpose to hunt. He was out there for the sole purpose of quote unquote protecting property. So that falls out the realm of him hunting. Again, so do you think that he was too young to be in a militia and should have been out there with the militia?
Yeah, I've seen a law that says that you can be in a militia at age 17, but I'll have to look that stuff up to get the specific of and drop in the chat and all that. So don't quote me on that right
Well,
now.
I can say for sure that you can be 17 and join the military. You just have to have parents' permission because I was 17 when I joined. And my mother had to sign and give the okay for me to go in, even though I was just going reserves, but I was 17. So, and I'm sure that militia is probably going to be somewhere around that. It's probably similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. With that being said, with that being said, also I was in the military, and yeah, you can have you can have parental consent to join the military at 17 and whatnot. But in the military, you still cannot own a privately owned weapon, and you cannot drink in the military until you're 21. So that kind of throw that notion out the window with that. You know what I'm saying? Also, if he could join, it's kind of counterproductive to be in a militia if you're not following the state guidelines of being the correct age to even own a weapon or even have a weapon on your person other than hunting. Because again, he wasn't out there for the sole purpose of hunting, going by what you're telling us, Jay. So that kind of nullifies that in a sense.
But if you think
with that
about
law,
it, militias are also not following. They were not created to follow the state guidelines. They were supposed to be personal brigades to protect themselves. So I could see how they would still justify it. It's still bullshit, but I would see how they could attempt to justify him being old enough to be in the militia. And, you know, we're not following state guidelines because we don't believe in this government anyway. Okay, now I'm going to hush.
there you go. Yeah, yeah. And also, I was saying that that it could be exclusively for hunting, but I wasn't sure about that. So I had to see the actual law to see if it was exclusively for hunting,
Okay.
or if it was created with the intent for hunting, but not necessarily exclusively for hunting. So I had to see the actual law on that. And for argument that the attorney for him was going to bring up. So there was that. And as far as the initial point, I mean, you can see in most of the videos, they usually show his interactions with the second and third shootings, which were when they were attacking him. First guy, one guy ran up and kicked him in the head, and he kept going, and he wasn't shot, obviously. And next guy hit him with a skateboard and tried to grab the gun, and that's when he was shot. And then the guy after that, he ran up to him right after the skateboard guy. This guy was holding a gun, handgun in his right hand. He ran to the guy. He stopped and raised his hands. And at that point, Kyle lowered his gun, his rifle. And then after he lowered his rifle, because he knows he wasn't a threat, this same guy lowered his weapon, charged him again. And then at that point, Kyle raised his weapon again and then shot this guy in the arm that was holding the gun. And at that point, that threat was neutralized as well. And nobody really approached him after that. He kind of just got up and started walking towards the police. And he heard a gun shooting at first. I thought he was shooting because he raised his weapon, but it turns out it wasn't him. He just heard the gun shooting first before he even raised his weapon. So he was just raising it in case he had engaged with somebody, but that didn't happen. So he kind of lowered it again and then continued walking to the police. So at that point, it's pretty easy to see that was just about who was responding to people who were already attacking him. So the real issue here is the initial, the first shooting, first of all, and the initial interaction that led to that first shooting, which is what the real issue is about. So in going to the first shooting, you can see him being chased. The video starts, you can see him being chased by this other guy. And then this guy, he throws some object at him or something like that. You said it's like a bag, but kind of moves like
Yeah, DOJ said. Yeah,
I don't know.
the DOJ said it was a bag.
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean, it looked like there was something clearly inside the bag. It didn't seem like he could just throw like a regular, like an empty bag like that. Like it was clearly something inside it. But I don't know.
But
I
it
mean,
wasn't like a Molotov cocktail, like what people was trying to say it was.
I understand that part. Well, I understand. And then after that, he kept running, and then you can hear gunshots as well. Which may have been gunshots behind him, or I'm not sure who was shooting gunshots at that point. And then he kept.
It was him. It
It
was him because
say that he was shooting like a warning shot or something to the guy chasing him, and then he kept chasing. He said like "F you" or something like that. The guy chasing him, and then he ended up getting closer around the cars, and that's when he shot a few more rounds, but towards the chasing him now, and that's when he ended up hitting him. He him in the hand, like chest, and one was in the back, or something like that. And he was saying like
he shot him in the back. He shot.
Yeah. I understand you saying. I understand. People saying like him getting shot in the back for a case of not being self-defense. But if you see the angle from that was closer to the shop or whatever it was that was pointing at them, this guy who was chasing him, he was angled towards the guy, so his back was kind of exposed. So in a moment when you turn your weapon towards them, who's ever chasing you in that position, their back will be, so you can hit them in their back like that while they're still chasing you. That could still be a case of self-defense if somebody's trying to attack you even though the back is exposed. So if you could in their direction, you could still hit them in the back and still have them still chasing y'all. You know. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, I got videos of all that. So if you want to like see it, I can send it to you. I don't know if you've seen all the angles. We say.
I have so many questions.
Okay. I heard it.
Okay, it's on you, Lifestyle.
Yeah. Even before that, so before that, you gotta go to the earlier interaction. Some people say that he started. Some people say like he was instigating them by being there. That was nonsense. I don't think you instigating somebody by your presence or instigating somebody by having a gun. It's actual action to instigate something. But if we have videos of a lot of this stuff. It be at the very earliest point. Well, for one thing, for this guy who was chasing him, his name is Rosenbaum. He was like antagonizing other guys in militia earlier, you know, like egging them on to tell them to shoot him. Say like, shoot me, Negro, shoot me, Negro, without saying actual Negro, saying something else. But yeah, that's what he's saying to some of the guys, kind of egging them on. Like he's like a hothead, basically. Seems like, you know, and for no reason, the guy was just talking to somebody else, and he was just like, just tripping, you know. And then kind of a little bit later in the night, we saying?
I mean to cut you off. We don't know exactly what led up to the guy saying it because that's what most of from everybody's view, that's where the video starts. So we can only speculate that maybe he antagonized him. We don't know what was said for because he was saying because when the video started, you see the guy Rosenbaum saying, "You gonna shoot me? Well, shoot me, nigga. Shoot me, motherfucker." He was amped up. He was amped up. He was amped up. But we don't know what was said prior to that because again, any video to that first shooting starts at that moment on that parking lot when the guy was like, "So you say you gonna shoot me? You gonna shoot me? Well, shoot me, motherfucker. Shoot me, nigga." That's what we see. So we can't say what was said or what was not said. So
yeah. Well, I saw a video that was a few seconds before that. He kind of walked in and he said something about somebody pointing a weapon at him or something like that. But I don't. The way I've seen it, maybe somebody was like pointing a weapon at him. Maybe I don't know, or maybe he just thought somebody pointing a weapon at him, and he would just kind of like use that as an opportunity to like you know, kind of start something. I don't know. I have no idea. But I'm just saying he just seemed kind of like a bit of a hothead in that moment. I don't know. But a little bit later in the night, at like a gas station, there was this fire in a dump truck. No, not a dump truck, a dumpster, a trash can, whatever. And next to the gas station, like they were trying to blow up the gas station or something, you know. And you can see somebody come and extinguish a fire. You can't really see who was holding it, but there was this other video where you can see Kyle was running across the video with a fire extinguisher, you know. So it seems like he was the guy who put out that fire. And so this guy and this same guy who was chasing Rosenbaum, he was there and he was upset at the people who put this fire, you know. And like he was like hurling the same at him, you know, clearly upset. And then so after that point, the next timeline was when McGinnis, the reporter from Daily Caller, that's when his statement, he gave a statement on this issue. I got a screenshot of it. Just give me a second to pull it up. Okay, so his statement says, okay, all right. It says the defendant had moved to the middle of the okay, let me get the very beginning of the sentence. Okay, he said McGinnis stated that before the defendant reached the parking lot and ran across it, the defendant had moved from the Meridian Road to the sidewalk, and that is when McGinnis saw male Rosenbaum initially try to engage the defendant. McGinnis stated that the defendant was walking across Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum was trying to get closer to the defendant when Rosenbaum advanced. The defendant did a juke move by running. So Rosenbaum was trying to approach him basically, and that's when the defendant Kyle was trying to get away. Again, it stated that there were other people that were moving quickly. So other people with Rosenbaum, like in the earlier video at the trash can, people with Rosenbaum who were upset that he extinguished fire, you know. And then I guess that's when he started running to evade the individuals. That's the end of his statement on that issue. So that's what I'm guessing. That's
I
when Chase.
just
Yeah, I had the picture of
I
his
think
statement.
lifestyle. Yeah,
All right.
I think
Just
lifestyle
like
has some questions. Yeah, so go ahead, lifestyle.
I guess my first question is, where can I find a pack of 17-year-old white boys to act as my personal security? Because they can get away with fucking anything. But if everything you said is true, my question is, one, is that a good thing? And two, as Black people, why would we advocate or defend that type of behavior? That type of behavior being him going to great lengths to insert himself in a potentially violent situation that obviously led to the deaths of at least two people. Two people who, for whatever reason, right or wrong, seem to be advocating for Black people, or at least against the system. My question is, as Black people, why would we advocate or defend somebody like Kyle? What good or what use do we have for that as Black people?
Well, I personally, I'm not a guy going around calling this guy like a patriot or something like that, or saying like the people deserve to die because they're like communists. I heard stuff like that from like all right groups. I think it's pretty stupid. But I think the truth matters. Personally, that's about it. I think the truth matters, and a lot of
Why?
narratives going around
Not,
calling
I'm
like
saying if
supremacists.
that's all true, if all of that is true, how is that useful to us as Black people? How does that help Black
How is it
people?
useful? How is the truth help Black people? Is that what you're asking? How is this guy
In any way, shape, or form?
What exactly?
So does it help you as an individual or any individual Black people, or does it help Black people as a whole in any way? The story of Kyle.
Does it help the story,
Yes,
the
sir.
true story? I mean, as far as like the narrative, that like we got white supremacists all over the place trying to kill us all the time. I mean, I think that helps people be less stressed out, I guess.
So do you have reason to believe that
like,
Kyle is not a white supremacist?
No, not really. No, I don't think there's any evidence for that whatsoever. That he's like a white supremacist. That's all like just repeated around the media and all that. There's no evidence I've seen of him being like a white supremacist or anything. And you can see him in the video trying to help some of the protesters who were there. You know, he offered people medic. You can see him doing that a few times. Like he was there. He wasn't there to like cause anybody problems or anything. You know, he seemed like he was just there to help.
Well,
and
I mean, the reason I
found himself in a
asked,
situation.
I mean, you went to great lengths and it was thorough. I mean, it was definitely something that obviously, you know, there was some attention to detail and, you know, some explanation. But I guess my question is, I wonder, because the way I look at it, you know, it was two sides. I don't see Kyle as necessarily being somebody who was acting on behalf of Black people. That being said, I don't think Kyle should have been killed, you know, but I think that Kyle definitely put himself in a situation that he didn't have to be in. You know, I definitely think he put himself in a situation that none of our kids I wouldn't encourage any of our children to put themselves in that situation, but they wouldn't have been able to do it if they wanted to. But I just think, you know, when you provide such a strong defense, I just wonder how it's relevant to the overall climate for us as Black people. Is this something that we can use in that? Is it something that benefits Black people in understanding this?
Well, I mean, it's just about truth, really. I mean, and now that they've asked the president to comment on it, and he gave his comment on it, now it's a national story officially. I just think the truth matters, really. I mean, that's about it. I just think the truth
So
matters.
it matters. Obviously, the truth should be told for sure. But I'm saying, as Black people, how does that truth? Is that truth a benefit to us? Is it a detriment to us, or is it just neutral?
I mean, is it the truth that there's this guy wasn't some white supremacist hunting down Black people? I think it's a good thing. There's not as many white supremacists out there trying to hunt us down as
So
we
there's
thought.
one less. There's one less white supremacist than we thought. Is that the good of the story?
No,
possibly.
It's one less that we suspected, because he doesn't. That was the case at all, basically.
I don't.
Like a false alarm.
I don't know if we can determine that. I don't know if he was a white supremacist or not.
I mean,
but I don't know that we can determine it from the events of that story. I mean, I think he definitely had intention to at the very least be prepared for violence. And again, the fact that he was a child that actually caused death, I don't see the positive in that at all, regardless of whether or not he was a self-proclaimed white supremacist or not. But we can say that those who tend to take the so-called, the sides of the militia, the militias and whatnot, don't tend to be too friendly to our communities. We know he wasn't advocating for Black people. He wasn't there to do anything specifically for Black people. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, he wasn't like a BLM protester. Yeah, that's safe to say. Yeah.
So, I guess my question is, as a community, again, it was thorough, and I can appreciate that, but I just wonder, if it's worth the time and effort we spend to illuminate or defend somebody who could very well be our open enemy. From what we know, he definitely was not on the side of the protesters. So that makes him opposition, whether he's a white supremacist or not. He already has several advantages that are probably going to keep him from being punished to the extent that, any of us will be punished or any of our children will be punished. So I'm just curious as to, when we illuminate the truth, or at least a different perspective on this, what do we gain from that?
Well, first of all, I don't think the whole thing that if you're not on my side, then you're my enemy. I don't think that's accurate. It could be people who are just neutral on the issue.
But do you think he was neutral? Nobody with a gun is neutral. If you walk around with a gun, you're not neutral.
In case things get like crazy, and because a lot of these protesters are violent, you see a lot.
Well, let me ask you this: What's wrong with violent?
A lot.
What's wrong
people
with violent
get
protest?
hurt, bro. As far as people lose businesses, yeah. So it's one thing people say, you have insurance, then your business getting burned down. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. First of all, you have deductibles you got to pay for with insurance. First of all. Second of all, insurance companies weren't designed for so many businesses being destroyed across the country at one time. So it's a lot of people.
Okay,
it don't make no difference.
What have white
people pay their premiums?
What have white people gained without the use of violence in history? What have white people ever gained without the use of violence?
I mean, man, I don't know. I wouldn't prepare for a whole history lesson. But,
no, it's a yes. I mean, name one thing.
Like, how far back in history you go?
Yesterday.
Go
back 20 years.
You said what? Yesterday.
100 years. Go back as far as you want. What have white people as a group gained without violence?
I mean, it depends on what you're talking about. I mean, people have gotten things from just voting. I mean, I voted for candidates and got things that I want in return, without any violence. So it depends on what you're talking about,
The question is, what has white people You're not talk about you per se because you're still considered a person of color. So we're asking a demographic. We talking about white people as a whole. You know what I'm saying? Like he's asking, what have they gained that they gained without using a force or violence? That's
They
what's
took
the
over
question I think
Hawaii.
was asked.
They took over and colonized Hawaii.
Alaska.
They took the queen out of Hawaii. I mean, where he's going for is period. America, period. Matter of fact, the entire world is built on people coming in and taking over by violent means, period. The reason why we didn't like Cuba was because Cuba wouldn't do what we wanted them to do, so we shut them down. We would not cooperate with them because they wasn't cooperating with us. Every time somebody does something that we don't like, or that the Americans don't like, or that whoever doesn't like, they go in and they take it by violence. That's the point he's trying to make.
Or they place an embargo on them.
Or place an embargo. So to say that violence is not the way, I am as nonviolent, as non-confrontational as they come. However, at this point in time, people continue to put property over lives. Fucking insurance company. I worked for insurance for many, many years. You know how much money they're collecting? They are well prepared for things like this because they go years without having to pay large premiums. But that is just like we say, that's what the cop's job is. That's what the insurance company's job is to pay that. Property can be replaced. Life cannot. And the bottom line is people continue to put property over life. And that's where the problem is. And unfortunately, and even though every fiber in me says, no, let's be peaceful, I still, at some point in time, I'm like, fuck it, burn the shit down, because you guys don't understand anything until you lose some shit. Once you lose property, because that's what this whole thing was about. It wasn't about somebody's life. That little boy went over there to protect some property, not somebody's life, property. And he wound up taking lives instead of saving the property. So I don't give a damn if he tried to put out some fire, because the bottom line is he still took lives unnecessarily because he went over there to protect property, not people, period. And until it's people over property, then fuck it, burn it down.
Can I chime in here?
Go ahead, Eddie.
All right, so and Jay, you can answer this, once I summarize it if you like. So let's take this scenario. The two different instances, Jacob Blake, Kyle Rittenhouse, and I'm going to use a bland term. All things being equal, okay? You have both of them in situations where they're potential. They've been deemed to have some type of potential for violence by somebody in this situation, be it the public or the police. The police are called to the situation, right? Mm-hmm. And in both of those instances, the police encounter that person, and there's an alleged weapon or proof of a weapon on the scene. One, there's an alleged knife, and then one is the gun in this young guy's hands, right? Both situations up until this point, all things being equal. In one scenario, one of them is shot by the police because of the threat, or the perceived threat that other people's lives were in danger from this suspected knife. On the other situation, that person actually injured people, actually took lives, and nothing happened to them. They weren't detained. They weren't questioned. They weren't even checked to see if they were all right medically. Nothing happened to these people. Now, running those situations parallel to each other, would you say that that those situations and their outcomes serve as proof that there's a problem with the perception of the police and Black people as suspects or people of interest and white people? And if so, is that not a problem?
Well, I mean, I've gotten stuff like this before. In general, I think it's important to remember that every cop is like different. So not every cop is going to respond the same way to the same, situation. One thing, you know, but also context is a little bit different. In the first case, not saying that she was justified or anything, but at the beginning they were fighting with the guy, wrestling with him, and apparently they didn't see the knife at first. They saw it when they got up and he was circling around the car, and they were witnesses said that they were ordering him to drop the knife and tell him to stop, not like into the car or anything, go into the car. They pointed guns at him. Then it's when he reached into the car that they shot him because they suspected that he was going to reach for a gun and shoot them or somebody else.
I got you. I got you. I'm familiar with the timelines. What I'm saying is,
but the other guy, he wasn't compliant. He was compliant. When he showed up to the street after getting away from the mob of guys attacking him, he had his hands up and he surrendered to the officers, And I saw one police car back up and all that. They were giving him like commands what to do, and they didn't arrest him, but he was clearly like complying. I think they definitely should have arrested the guy. I don't know why they didn't, but they let him go. He went home and turned himself in.
Yeah, I didn't hear any. I didn't hear any commands, but I did hear people identify that he had committed a crime. People accused him on the scene, and he was not detained. And that's why I said, like, base level, these scenarios, if you ran them real time, one next to the other, you said the police are not the same. I would take issue with that because they're trained to react in the same way. They're trained to have specific outcomes. And when they don't, when they react on their own, then that causes problems. And by extension of that, when citizens take it upon themselves, absent of training, absent of proper knowledge, legal status to be able to operate in these scenarios, then that also is a problem. And because this young man was not held accountable, is technically still not being held accountable. He's free out. He has, as far as I know, he hasn't been.
No, he's been arrested. He turned himself in. He's been arrested.
He went home though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he went home.
So actually, he didn't show up for court Friday because they gave him an extension to find a lawyer, which is another privilege that we don't have because when you get arraigned, you get arraigned. They don't care if you have a lawyer or not. So the fact that they created a timeline for him to even seek counsel baffles me. You know what I'm saying? But I just had to throw that in there.
He had somebody who was there, like their attorney that they forwarded them already, and he's the guy who showed up to court, in Kyle's place, So the attorney they appointed him was the guy who showed up to court that day, So Kyle didn't have to show up to court. He was legally represented, so that's normal. Yeah.
All I'm saying is that these two scenarios play out very differently, and that's proof of the issue. It's proof of concept. Right. It's proof of the problem.
Say so.
Also, another thing. Go ahead, bro. You can finish on, Jay.
I was waiting you. You saying?
Oh, okay. That's another thing that should probably raise eyebrows as well is, so we know that Kyle Rittenhouse was an avid supporter of the police and back the blue and all this, but he put he was in a position among the people where there were even police among the people. So I don't understand why they felt the need to be policing in any area that the police weren't even in the area of the police. You get what I'm saying? Like, you will put yourself in a position that goes beyond what the police was doing at that particular point in time. I.e., police was keeping the perimeter of the area. They was in the area, but they wasn't in the area, if you know what I mean. But he inserted himself in the area. So that's why when me and you was going for, I said like his actions caused all this. Like when I gave the whole example about like again, if me, Elvin, and Eddie go rob a bank, and I'm the getaway driver. Eddie and Elvin in the bank, and I'm sitting in the car, and in the process of them robbing the bank, they kill somebody. So I'm not the trigger man, but you know the law is going to try me as one of the trigger man, and I'm going to be charged with murder. Why? Because of the decisions I made to help commit that crime caused people to lose their life. So that's what I was saying. His decisions to go down there to call himself police in an area that he wasn't trained to do, and B, the police wasn't even down there policing, and he inserted himself in them situations. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying people should have ran up on him, but at the same time, you know this is a hostile environment. Why would you insert yourself in a hostile environment? You know what I'm saying? You can't. It's like the boy called Wolf. Like you put yourself in that situation. So therefore, anything after that, you know what I'm saying? You can't really cry wolf on that because you inserted yourself in that. So if you insert yourself in certain situations, you have to be willing to accept all things coming your way in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be held accountable. Like he has to be held accountable because his decision making in all of that caused people to lose their lives. Now, you know what I'm saying? Whether they ran up on him or not, he didn't have to be there. And that's what the point I was trying to make. He didn't have to be there.
None of them had
But
to
here's
be
the thing,
there.
though. Here's the thing, though. If people are protesting, right? If they're protesting because they don't like a certain thing, now these probably are adults or more so out here. You know what I'm saying? It might have been some young kids out there, but the gist is, you already know that these people are going to do this. Now, at that point in time, you got a decision to make. If I go out here, I know that this can happen. If I go out here with this weapon, I know, because you got to know if you're a white guy and you running in a basically black neighborhood with a weapon, it's going to raise some eyebrows, and people, they already going to see you as the police. They are already protesting police, and you acting in the manner and at the behest of the police because you are a Blue Lives Matter supporter. So again, his decisions led to a chain of events that caused people to die.
Well, I
That's
mean, the
all I
thing
want to say
is
on that.
that they all had decisions that contributed to what eventually happened. But at the end of the day, the initial point that led to conflict. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
It was him just cleaning out a fire or whatever, and they started chasing him, and he ended up defending himself. I mean, that's not really him causing a conflict. That's just him just exercising his right to defend himself in a dangerous situation where people were clearly trying to attack him, for trying to do the right thing, help somebody, And you guys looking at it from one thing, or like him, he shouldn't have went there. Him going there is his fault and all that. But he went there knowing the risk. I mean, maybe that's like something to respect. He went there to help people, knowing how dangerous the environment was, and he went there anyway. That's like almost active like bravery. You know what I mean? Some people like commend something like that. But I don't
I
know.
mean, the
Some
same could be
guys
said about
make him like that's like.
Could be said about the guy that got shot in the back by the police. He went out there to break up a fight, and what's being reported is that he went out there to break up a fight. He was out there breaking up a fight.
No.
Now they has a conflicting story. Well, okay. So I need you to show me your source, because what I'm saying is the police was questioning him. He didn't want to participate in the questioning with the police officers and stuff. And then it came to be that he had a warrant, so the police wanted him to stop, or whatever the case may be. At that point, he walks away from the police. So he's not really a threat to anyone he's walking away from the police. And the police knew already it was kids in the car. They didn't even consider the fact that when they grabbed him and started shooting him, they didn't even see a weapon in his hand because, again, by their training, police is not supposed to use deadly force unless they're an imminent threat and they have a visual view of a weapon. And then the perpetrator must be trying to use a weapon in a harmful manner. He didn't even get it. By the time he opened the door and put one foot in, they started shooting. You know what I'm saying? And again, like I said, he was breaking up a fight. Now, if you got something else to say different, I sure would like to see that because I haven't seen anything in the last couple of days that says otherwise. But I mean, I could be wrong. That's why I'm asking.
That he was actually there. Yeah, other reports saying he was there, like bothering his ex-girlfriend that he recently like sexually assaulted or raped in July 25th or something like that, and she had like a restraining order against him, and he violated that. He went there, caused trouble, and he like took her keys or something like that. And then there's one on Twitter who was saying that she was her aunt, and she was saying the same thing, that he was like he raped her and all that. And it's pretty hard for her niece to see like the NBA protesting to have her niece's rapist defended, to have like justice for him and all that, you know. Not saying he shouldn't get justice for what happened to him, but just putting that in context. So I don't know if this whole thing that he was breaking up a fight, I don't know if that's the truth. And I can provide like sources and all this stuff.
That's what the witnesses are saying that was out there. Like, so, but so everybody that was a witness out there, so everybody's lying. That's what you're saying. We wasn't there. We could only in court. They could only go by an eyewitness. So if these people are eyewitnesses, at least 4 people out there said the same thing about him breaking up a fight, and you got 2 saying something different. I don't know. I wasn't there. But what I'm saying is, in a court of law, they usually go by eyewitnesses, not basically about hearsay or speculation. You know what I'm saying? They go by eyewitnesses. So they're saying up to 4 people, maybe more, was saying the same thing, that he was breaking up a fight. And the police questioned him, and he didn't want to participate in the questioning. And I guess the police felt away, and they got in a tussle. They tried to tase him, whatever. He was walking away. He probably handled that wrong, but at the same token, he's not a threat to the point where they shot him in the back. Because again, if they felt like he was that threatening, why come they didn't tackle him? They had ample time to tackle him because he came from one side of the car with guns drawn on him, I might add, all the way to the next side. So, and then the narrative about, well, he had a knife in the car, they just throwing out there to make it seem like that he was actually going for a knife, which we cannot sit here and say that. I don't believe that he was going for a knife. Even if he had a knife in his hand or in his pocket, he showed nothing that said that he was going to attack anybody with that knife if he's walking to his car. So that narrative right there, this kind of don't sit well with me about, you know, the whole knife in the car. He can have 20 knives in the car. You know what I'm saying? It don't make a difference. It's almost like they didn't give him a chance. If they thought that he was going to do something, they didn't even give a chance to even see. You can't really shoot somebody if you think they're going to do something. That's not how that works. That's not how they're trained. That's not how the law works. Because even if I shoot somebody, I have to make sure that they're coming to me and pose an imminent threat to me or anybody in my vicinity. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not even a police officer. So, and the police need to be held to a higher esteem than a regular civilian. So
I agree with that.
But
and I also
we gotta get ready to wrap this up, man.
Tackle and all. You want to wrap it up? All right. Yeah, that's cool.
We gotta get ready to wrap this time.
Yeah, go ahead. You good? Go ahead.
No, it's all good. But I appreciate everybody that came out. Oh, I keep saying came out like we in the club. But appreciate everybody that participated this evening. We're gonna do this again. It's sometime in September. I'm gonna get this on YouTube. So if anybody missed anything tonight or want to revisit what was said tonight, you have the video for that. All right. I'm gonna figure out what our next topic is gonna be come September and October. And again, we're trying to do one on election night. So pretty sure the election night one probably gonna be it's gonna be real spicy. If I say, real spicy, but everybody have a good night. I'll talk to you guys later. Pretty sure me and Justin probably be debating again this week on some things. So everybody be safe, and I'll talk to you when I talk to you.
All right, man.
Good night, everybody. All right.